this is Neil, and I'm partnering with the great HPC today to bring you the Surfactant Insights Podcast. As you probably know, about 70 to 75% of the global surfactant market by tons is used in some sort of cleaning. Most of that, about half of the total market, is used in household cleaning, the biggest portion of which is laundry. There's also, of course, dishwashing, hard surface cleaning, and carpet cleaning in that category. Then there's personal care, including shampoo, body wash, liquid soap, and others. And finally, still in cleaning, we have the so-called I&I category. That's industrial and institutional cleaning, which takes place in restaurants, schools, hotels, office buildings, and so forth. The remaining 25 to 30% of surfactants by weight are used in industrial applications. And that's what we'll talk about today, the uses for surfactants beyond cleaning. There's a lot, and we can't cover all of them, but the main ones include food, construction, crop protection, emulsion polymerization, lubricants, metalworking, oil and gas, textiles, paints and coatings, pulp and paper, and, of course, other. Before we dip into one or two of these in more detail, there are some general points that can be made about all the markets in this beyond cleaning segment. First, they're generally specialty surfactants markets. This means that business here will typically have higher gross margins and higher SG&A, that's selling, general and administrative costs. As we've seen in prior podcasts, you have to invest below the gross margin line to succeed in these markets. That means investing consistently in things like applications development, technical service, patents, standard and custom performance testing, papers at conferences, and marketing in many forms. Second, and as a driver of the first point, these markets tend to be very applications specific. This means that suppliers are and need to be as expert in the end-use applications as the customers are. Being a product or process expert is just not enough. Third, and as a consequence of the second point, the markets have their own ecosystem of trade associations, exhibitions, conferences, standards, and even vocabulary, which a serious supplier needs to become intimately involved in. Setting up separate business units with their own technical sales and marketing capabilities to service each market is ideal if scale permits. So let's take a look at a few of these markets. First up, food. Well, we eat a lot of surfactants, and the richer a country is, the more surfactants it consumes in its food. Ultra-processed foods that we've heard so much about recently contain surfactants. Baked goods in packages, supplements, soft drinks, all are very likely to contain surfactants. Many ethoxylated, like sorbate and ester ethoxylates, ethoxylated mono and diglycerides, and polyglycerol esters. The big end users are the big food companies like Kraft Heinz, Nestle, and Mondelez, and ingredients companies like Kerry. Trends here include the increasing consumption of processed food, along with increasing disposable income, offset only partially by a preference for natural foodstuffs. Crop protection, or the agrochemical market, is an important and fast-growing one. Alongside the active ingredient in an agrochemical, that's usually the herbicide or the pesticide, goes what's known as an adjuvant package, including one or more surfactants. The surfactant roles include wetting, spreading, emulsification, adhesion, and even foam marking. Relative commodities like nonylphenol ethoxylates and toluamine ethoxylates, as well as much more specialized products like carbohydrate esters, are used here. Trade groups, particularly the CPDA, that's the Council of Producers and Distributors of Agro Technology, are very important in this market. Customers include the big agro-tech companies like Bayer and Syngenta. Trends include drift control, controlled release encapsulation, and the avoidance of solvents. In industrial lubricants and metalworking fluids, the key ingredient is base oil, paraffinic or naphthenic. Then come the additives, many of which are surfactants. This is where so-called oil-soluble surfactants are used. These tend to be higher molecular weight, more oleophilic molecules. For example, heavy alkyl benzene sulfonates, such as derivatives of dialkyl benzenes, are used in metalworking fluids as emulsifiers. Often they're referred to as petroleum sulfonates. Ethoxylates and phosphate esters are also widely used. Customers include Lubrizol, Afton, Shell, and Fuchs. Trends include extended drain intervals, worker exposure minimization, and bio-based base oil compatibility. Trade groups like the STLE, that's Society of Tribologists and Lubrication Engineers, ILMA, that's the Independent Lubricant Manufacturers Association, and NLGI, that's the National Lubricating Grease Institute, are all very important to get involved with for this market. There's a lot more markets, and in future podcasts we will dip into them. But let me wrap up by saying that while these markets account for 25 to 30% of global surfactants by weight, they generate a much larger percentage of the total market's revenue and margins. That's why many companies pursue at least a few of them, and the very biggest suppliers like BASF will seek a position in almost all of them. And again, please remember, you need to invest in applications technology as well as product and process technology to succeed here. If you've anything to add or ask, please get in touch. In the meantime, thanks again for listening.